Hello my dear students, this is Dr. Garima Singh and today we will be learning about the life cycle of bryophytes, specifically mosses, in few minutes. So before we begin, let me tell you what exactly bryophytes are. Talking about bryophytes, bryophytes are those plants which are known as amphibians of plant kingdom. And why do we call them so? We call them so because they do not have root, stem and leaf. They don't possess vascular tissues, but they are dependent on water for fertilization. So requirement of water makes them amphibians of plant kingdom. Where will you find them? You will find them in cool, damp places where moisture is there, where humidity is there. And when we talk about moss, these are found on the foothills. Talking about mosses, you have seen probably them. Probably you might have seen them. And if you have seen them, the body which you see, this is known as their main plant body. And it is called the gametophyte phase. All the cells in the gametophyte phase will be haploid. So this body right here is the gametophyte of a bryophyte, which is a haploid phase in its life cycle. They possess root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structures. I cannot call them true organs. And why so? Because of the absence of vascular bundle. Since vascular bundle is not there, an organ can't be called. So they have something which resembles those structures, and they are known as root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structures. Also, when I talk about moss, what you can see is we have two branches. In this particular moss, which is sphagnum, there is an antheridial branch and then you have archegonial branch also. The antheridial branch will be having the male parts, the male reproductive system, and the archegonial branch will possess the female reproductive system. Talking about the male and female reproductive systems, where will you find them exactly? So you will find these organs at the tip of the leaves. So at the leaf tips, there will be sex organs. The archegonia will be there, which is a flask-shaped structure. So this is the archegonia, the flask-shaped structure. The sex organ is multicellular and jacketed, and it possesses a central cell, which is known as the female gamete or the egg cell. So I have a single egg cell in a flask-shaped structure that is called archegonia. Then moving ahead and going to the male sex organ, you will be finding antheridium, or plurally there will be antheridia. The antheridia will be found again at the tip of the leaves. Where exactly? At the antheridial branch. So at the antheridial branch, at the leaf tip, you will be finding antheridium. Inside the antheridium, there will be number of male gametes. These male gametes are biflagellate. They are motile, and since they are motile and biflagellate, they require water for their active transport. As soon as they'll find that water, the moisture, they'll be moving. They'll be moving actively. They'll be moving actively and going to the archegonia. At the archegonia, they'll be released at the mouth, and from the mouth, they go inside and they meet and fuse with the egg cell. Now, you probably know when this fusion will occur, the two haploid cells will fuse and the resultant structure, the zygote, will be produced. So based on this, there will be formation of a cell which will be known as zygote. So this fusion leads to formation of zygote. Talking about zygote, this zygote is a diploid structure. And you are by now aware that in mosses, the main plant body is haploid. So I don't need a diploid structure right here. So what they shall do ideally? Ideally, they should undergo meiosis, develop spores like algae. But they are not doing that. They are probably thinking of making the zygote replicate, developing it into a multicellular sporophyte. Yes, you heard me right. The zygote in these plants will undergo mitosis and it will develop into a multicellular sporophyte body. This sporophyte body right here which you see is made up of cells which are diploid. All the cells of the sporophyte are diploid. And as you can see, these structures, they are not found anywhere else. Rather, they are growing on the main plant body. Indicating the fact that they cannot live independently. They have to depend on the main plant body for nourishment. They have to depend on the main plant body for anchorage. So it is probably like a parasite. It is dependent on the parent plant body for nourishment as well as for anchorage. So in bryophytes, I cannot see independent gametophyte and independent sporophyte. Rather, the sporophyte body, which is a twin body, is dependent on the gametophyte body. So this is exactly what I can appreciate over here. It is developing by mitosis, and it is developing into a structure which is probably made up of three kinds of structures. These are the foot, which you probably cannot see in your diagram. Then you have a stalk-like structure, that is the seta, and then you have a capsule. Inside the capsule, there are many cells. All the cells diploid for certain reasons. These diploid cells will undergo a special kind of cell division. They will be undergoing meiosis. So they'll be undergoing meiosis, and you by now know that meiosis is nothing but reduction division. So they undergo reduction division, that is meiosis. And as soon as they undergo reduction division or meiosis, the ploidy of the cells change, and these resultant cells, which are known as the spore mother cells, will give you haploid spores. After every meiosis, spores are formed. So one spore mother cell undergoes meiosis and forms 4 haploid spores. These 4 haploid spores are then released. Where are they released? They are released from the capsule. And from the capsule, they go wherever they find a cool, damp, shady place. They'll start developing again. And when they germinate, I'll call it an indirect development. And why so? Because they won't give me the main plant body or this leafy sort of a stage directly. At first, the spores upon germination will produce these thread-like structures. These thread-like structures, they are known as protonema of a moss. And what is protonema? Protonema is a haploid structure, filamentous thread-like structure, green in color probably, and is photosynthetic as well. Since it is green in color, it is photosynthetic. It is a haploid structure as it is developing from the spore. So spores are responsible for the generation of the gametophyte body. The gametophyte body is not directly developing into a leaf-like stage. It is first developing into thin, thread-like structures which are creeping on the ground. And you call these creeping filamentous structures, which are branched also, you call them protonema. So a protonema, a haploid gametophyte develops. The first stage of the gametophyte body is a protonema. Since it is the main plant body's part, it is completely independent. It is not dependent on any other structures. It will be preparing its own food. Hence, it is green and photosynthetic. And then what you'll see is that it also divides. It produces secondary protonema. On the sides of the secondary protonema, you will be finding a lateral bud, indicating you that mosses do show budding. A lateral bud, that is an outgrowth on the side, will be produced, and this outgrowth will be of haploid cells. So this outgrowth or the lateral bud will now develop into the entire leafy stage. The entire root-like, stem-like, leaf-like structures will now be produced, which also means that the stage was divided, the entire gametophyte was divided into 2 stages, that is a protonema and a leafy stage. That's the reason why I called development indirect in mosses. So in mosses, the development is not direct, it is indirect. The spore indirectly develops, which means first it develops into protonema, then it develops into the leafy stage. Just like in a frog, tadpole comes and then the frog comes from the egg. Similarly, it is the case in bryophytes, specifically in mosses. Not the case in liverworts, but in mosses. So this is exactly what you should remember. What you should remember is that when we were talking about algae, the life cycle was a haplontic life cycle. In a haplontic life cycle, majority cells were haploid. Only a single cell was representing the diploid phase, that was the sporophyte. But zygote was the only cell which was sporophyte there. So the life cycle was called haplontic life cycle. But when you come to these plants, you are finding that there are many cells which are haploid. They are also developing many cells which are diploid. But since main plant body is haploid and this plant body, the sporophyte, is dependent on the main plant body, the life cycle here will be known as haplodiplontic life cycle. What it will be called? It will be called as haplodiplontic life cycle. So bryophytes will be showing you a haplodiplontic life cycle. I hope this is clear to everyone right there. Fine. So this was all about my mosses. Also, I would like to tell you that in moss, there are 3 examples given in NCERT, which you should remember. That is sphagnum, the peat moss, funaria and polytrichum. Funaria's diagram as well as sphagnum's diagram are extremely important. So remember funaria as the one which has a fun-like structure. It shows you a snake-like structure at the top. So if you know fun means something related to snake, so the one which shows a snake-like head on its top is funaria. And this one, the one which is giving you labelings of antheridial as well as archegonial branches, is a diagram of a sphagnum or the peat moss. Bryophytes and mosses specifically, you already know, are pioneers in xeric succession. And by xeric succession, I mean that they grow on areas where no life existed before in a dry situation. So these areas, they are very dry. They have rocks over there, they don't have soil. So these plants will be responsible for converting rocks into soil. And again, for that reason, I say that lichens along with mosses are extremely important for soil production. They are the pioneer communities of xeric succession. And this is again the reason that why I say that bryophytes are of extreme great ecological importance, because preparation of soil is one of the main criterias and one of the most important things which we require, because soil as a resource is very expensive. So talking about all this, we can sum up our mosses over here. So I hope everything was clear to you. Now, if you go back and read your NCERTs, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to understand everything what is written there in moss. So I hope mosses are clear. Thank you so much.